Hello everyone, this is Shadow. Due to copyright restrictions on YouTube, I can't publish many of the audiobooks you love. That's why I've created a special paid service where you can enjoy over 300 high-quality audiobooks from platforms like Webnovel, Pocket FM, Audible, Wuxia, and more. Each novel comes as a one-time purchase, no subscriptions, no hidden fees. After payment, you'll receive full access via Telegram, along with all future updates for that novel. You'll find a wide selection of your favorite genres and titles, always in premium audio quality. Check the full list of available novels in the description. DM me now to get your favorite stories in audiobook form and start listening today. Chapter 527. Titan's Wedding 2. Kill them. Stop. Who turned the light off? Hey. Watch where you put your hand, perv. That's not my hand. KYAA. Mommy. My balls. Who hit my balls? Call a medic. Stop, you bastard. Pervert. There is a pervert here. Hey. Watch where you place your frickin' hand. Turn on the lights. Please. Who the fuck keep ringing that bell? In the pitch-dark wedding hall, it was total mayhem with many people moving around, stumbling, screaming, and attacking each other for no reason. It was total chaos. In the midst of this all, Jim, who was surrounded, knew that this was his chance, especially with many of the guards around not knowing what to do. Thankfully, they could not see him, but he could barely make out their positions thanks to his inspect skill. Deciding to use the environment to his advantage, he quickly pushed Ramon, the fake April who was holding on to him, toward one of the guards, but that guy kept clutching him, leading them to stumble together to the ground. Let go, damn it! Jim cursed. This guy was sticking to him as if he were a horny wife sticking to her husband after a long separation. Like hell, I would never let go. Ping, ping, ping. All of a sudden, a series of flashes illuminated the corner of Jim's eyes, but they were so dim that he could barely make them out and dodge to the side. Immediately, he felt as if a hot knife had just grazed him when that projectile passed by him. HSSSSSSS. Ping, ping, ping. Careful. We are under fire. They are using arrows. The guards who were barely able to follow Jim in the darkness began to yell. Take cover. Go under the tables. They are trying to concentrate on Master Harvey's table. A voice came from afar. What? Damn it. Code 67. Code Friken 67. All into position. The guards began to shout, making Jim frown. Not sure if this was real or some other trap. Whoom. A single dim light suddenly shone in the middle of the hall, making him turn to see a heroic woman, Valerie, dressed in a golden armor, drawing a golden sword and standing with her now armored parents and sister Charlotte in front of Harvey, who was kneeling on one leg. His golden armor, that was similar to Valerie's, had no less than 10 arrows sticking out of it. It was not clear if he was injured or not, but it was obvious that he was the target of this attack. All around him, it was chaos with crazed people jumping on each other's throats. There were even some who were hit by the arrows and were on the ground, drawing in their greenish blood. Wait, green? Blood? What kind of poison was this? Jim gasped, not knowing what was going on, but he knew he needed to get out of here, so he quickly tried to hit that Ramon again, only to be surprised when the latter let go very easily. Turning to look at him through the dim light, he quickly noticed that the arrow that had grazed him earlier was now sticking from Ramon's eye, with green liquid seeping out of his orifices. Still, he was not dead, as he was drooling with his head slowly shaking in a mechanical way. A shiver ran through Jim's back as his instinct told him to run. Run, Jim, run. Kicking Ramon away, he jumped to the side, just in time. Ping, 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 ping. Another volley of arrows was launched, so Jim quickly dodged and then jumped off the stage. Unfortunately, his movement alerted two of the guards, who decided to follow him as their colleagues hurried to help Harvey. Jim quickly tried to activate his escape talisman again, but it didn't work. He could tell that this was probably some array that was cast over the entire hall. Harvey seemed to have been wary of him escaping, but look who was also trapped now. Jim sneered as he watched Valerie desperately defend her grandfather and family. Then he began to dash after he noticed that the guards who followed him were able to pinpoint his location. It was all due to Valerie's sword light that illuminated the hall somehow. Damn it! He cursed as he grabbed a chair and threw it toward the guards, and he darted toward the barely visible side door. It was the same one he came through earlier when entering the stage. The guards ran right after him. One held a golden spear, and the other held what looked like a flare that, for some reason, seemed to have malfunctioned. Hey! Stop, you piece of shit, or I... Ah! The first guard began to scream, making the other, who was fiddling with the flare, turn to look, then gasp as, though the only dim light, he watched the bride, Ramon, with an arrow sticking out of his eye, crawl above his friend's back like some monkey and uses his dislodged jaw to bite onto the poor guard's neck. "Zombie!" he shouted. "It is code 39 to 94. It is a zom." The guard's words were cut off abruptly. The terrified Jim, not even caring to look back, dashed toward the door. Just as he approached it, his sense of danger alerted him again, making him slow down and look around worriedly. "Stop that fake. He is almost at the door," someone screamed from the side. "But Master Harvey, that imposter is top priority." Ping, ping, ping. A few arrows were fired toward him. Damn it! Deciding to risk it, Jim activated his treasured protection talisman and jumped through the dark door. He couldn't advance, as if he faced some kind of barrier, but pushing harder, the barrier gave in, and he felt himself reaching for the other side. Whoosh! As soon as he entered, the door vanished, turning into a cauldron that fell into a certain young master's hand. Victor sighed as he placed the cauldron in his storage space, then looked up across the dark hall with a deep frown. Unlike the others, he could see perfectly what was going on. Well, he had to activate his demonic bloodline to do that. Corpse Prison Zone. SSS. Effect of the Myrda's Corpse Banner. All unholy light sources are disabled. Artifacts below D rank are disabled. Cannot enter. Cannot exit without the blue corpse token. All dark feeling get multiplied. Undead gain extra boost. Slow-acting corpse miasma will cause people to slowly turn into zombies. Damn it! Victor cursed. This was not a part of his plan. Can't a man have a wedding without all kinds of shit happening? Earlier, just when that prison dungeon ended, he used his space travel skill using Alpha as a coordinate to teleport here, intending to apprehend Jim with Alpha's help before Harvey could arrest him. He arrived just as the ceremony was about to end, and quickly prepared to apprehend Jim as he escaped. But then it happened, right in the front of his eyes. The first thing he noticed was an old man, who seemed like the hall manager, taking out a mini harp and flicking a few strings. The man was not a player, and the harp was the cheap, child toy kind, so Victor didn't pay him any attention until the effect of that melody began to show. The moment the sound of the harp reverberated in the hall, many people began to go crazy, absolutely crazy, moving and looking around nervously. It was a gradual process that happened in the span of 20 seconds. Then that man threw the harp away and smacked some kid's head with a chair, alerting everyone just as the strange array was activated, pulling the entire hall into abysmal darkness. Victor couldn't help but gasp watching this, knowing the effect of the harp was something that would have happened in his own wedding if he hadn't caught it in time back then. The dream worm. In the other timeline, he heard of it being used to assassinate people in social events, but this was the first time he saw it in action. The parasite that could be used to instill delayed orders into people's subconscious, orders that would activate with a specific trigger, like a simple melody. The ones behind this must have used the fact that many of the guests came from abroad and must have targeted a few of the hotels where they stayed last night, as about 1 in 4 people seemed to have been affected. Anyway, those people under its effect went crazy and began to create chaos in the dark, allowing the attackers to move freely by forcing the von Geldstadt forces to be more restrained, as the people here were all VIPs. Thankfully, Victor's girls were safe, probably because the perpetrator was wary of the von Weiss family, so he didn't try to affect the White Hotel where Victor stayed. Still, Victor had to warn them to stay vigilant. That's why he shouted the Nutcracker's name, making them calm down and focus on defense at once as they realized he was there, instructing Alpha to keep her guard up, even using her body to take shield Theta if needed. He began to search for the assailants. He didn't need to look for long as almost immediately, taking advantage of the darkness, some strange skeletal warriors in old armor began to materialize out of the wall. Some immediately began to target Harvey using huge bows and arrows, while others like spiders with daggers in their mouths began to crawl around the room to encircle the target ready for the next step. Watching all of this, Victor confirmed one thing. Harvey was definitely the target here, and maybe even back then at his wedding. Thankfully, thanks to his plan to make 2 wedding halls back then, and probably because of Caspian's appearance, whoever was behind this must have decided to withdraw. At that moment, he was tempted to go help make Harvey owe him a favor, but watching Valerie go into action, he decided to keep in the dark. So he turned to Jim, who was running away, scamming him into thinking the cauldron was the door as he did with that idiot Lazarus in Ismeralia. This guy, however, was not 100% gullible as he almost noticed that something was wrong. But thankfully, the situation here was so terrifying that Victor only had to give him one last scare to push him to jump into the cauldron. After finishing with Jim, Victor moved swiftly in the darkness, firstly checking on his girls again, making sure they were fine. Then he began to secretly help by putting down some sneaky skeletons and zombified people who were hit by the arrows. Although he didn't care a lot about the guests, he didn't want Gary's wedding to be ruined. That guy must be on his way here now. As he took action, the pressure on Valerie and the von Gledstadt lessened, allowing them to divert some of their forces to begin restraining the nearby guests. The situation seemed to be stabilizing, but this was only a matter of time. as the attack was far from over. Wah-aya-aya. Mommy. Damn it. It is not the time now. Remove your friken hand. Howny. It is not me. Kai-ah-ah-wea. What the hell is that? Hearing the noise around, Victor paused his actions as he noticed that some of the people began to be affected by the zombie poison. Damn it. This was what the culprit was waiting for. Once those non-player guests turned into zombies, the second wave would start with those spider-like skeleton assassins who seemed to have taken their place on the ceiling, ready to descend at any second. That's the way he would have done it. Knowing that he was almost out of time, Victor quickly jumped onto the stage and began to scan everyone with his eyes. One by one. In the hall, there should be very few true culprits, there might even be only one. That's the way he would do it. Found you. 2 minutes later, he found him. Or rather them. First, an old man who was hiding under one of the tables, acting as if he were afraid. Name, Almaroas von Zwei. Level, 89. Class, Dark Earl, B. Authority, 8. Strength, 239. Agility, 244. Intelligence, 250. Luck, 14. Charm, 4. Order, 37. Bloodline, Corpse-Eating Maggot. AAA Awakened. Equipment, Myrta's Corpse Banner, SSS. Disguise Talisman, A. Storage Ring, B. Fate, Fate's Power, C. Defined Fate. Get killed by Valerie von Geldstadt. Destiny list 10 order points to unveil. Victor frowned at the old man, then turned to look at the girl beside him. An old acquaintance, Victor was a bit surprised that she appeared here. Still, seeing her unsewered many questions that he had. Name, Diana von Zwei. Level, 16. Health, 1281/1281, 1900. Stamina, 3300/3300. Mana, 700/2010. Class, Edge Necromancer, B. Authority, 13. Strength, 190. Agility, 330. Intelligence, 201. Luck, 24. Charm, 41. Order, 4. Class, Ghost Avatar, SSS. Abnormal Condition. Curse of the Beyond. Lose 1 point of health for each undead you summon. Current count, 619. Class Skills. Ethereal State, SSS. Life Feeding, S. Death Immunity, SSS. System Skills. Summoner from the Beyond, SSS. Inspect, S. Disguise, B. Fireball, B. Blood Feud, C. Scar, E. Vanishing, F. Recognized Skills. Cooking, A. Cleaning, B. Sewing, B. Digging, B. Cold Resistance, B. Pain Resistance, C. Fire Resistance, C. Daydreaming, D. Eavesdropping, E. Poetry, E. Death Resistance, F. Mortiation, F. Singing, FFFF. Bloodline, Corpse-Eating Maggot. AAA, Unawakened. Equipment, Disguise Talisman, E. Protection Talisman, F. Fate, Fate's Power, A. Defined Fate. Get killed by Valerie von Geldstadt. Destiny list 10 order points to unveil. Inspecting the girl who was at the moment also trying to act inconspicuously, Victor sighed. She was the one who was ordering those skeletons thanks to that SSS skill she got. That skill clearly had some severe conditions. Sighing, Victor slowed down as he headed toward the two von Zwei's tables. Reaching them in a moment. Then, Pam. The old man lost his head. It was a very smooth operation with Victor taking his time to train on his decapitating skills lately. As the man's body fell to the ground, Victor quickly grabbed him, taking the small banner that he was holding in his hand before storing him in the cauldron for later processing. Diana, who was focusing on controlling the skeletons and resisting the pain feedback she had to tolerate each time one was killed, didn't notice at first, but then she felt something was wrong as the old man was no longer ordering her around, so she turned to look only to find another stranger old man in his place. When I gave you your power, I didn't expect you to turn into a bad girl, the old man sighed. It seems like you need some punishment. Still, we first need to get rid of a few insects, he said, then moved his hand toward the skeletons. Almost immediately, they stopped their actions with their fire, no longer focusing on Harvey but on Valerie. It was as if they went suicidal, no longer caring to hide their position. Diana was shocked. How did he control her summons? She quickly tried to wrestle control back from him, but she was shocked. Her system screen was frozen with the words, "Mentoring mode. System is suspended." What? She was shocked, remembering that her system always had that master. Not enough authority field that no one else had. Could it be that he was her said master? What did this mean? She wanted to ask, but she couldn't talk. Hell. She couldn't move at all as pain started assaulting her body with her skeletons dying left and right. What a useless skill. You young people just like to get stronger fast, not realizing the consequences. That's why I hate taking disciples. The old man cursed. He placed his hand on her head, making the pain vanish as he moved his other hand, holding the small red banner, to point to the ceiling, ordering the spider skeletons to descend all at once just as Charlotte stepped away from Valerie. That slut was sticking to her older sister for protection earlier, but the moment the skeletons began to attack the latter, she began to step away, just as Victor intended. Damn it! Do you know how much this fucking thing will cost me, you dick-sucking bitches? Before Diana could understand what was happening, she watched Valerie curse in words that no lady should utter in public, then quickly take out a strange scroll from thin air and activate it. Holy Purifying Scroll, SSS. Clear all undead aspects. Cure all undead alignments. Die! Whoosh! The hall was immediately drawing in a bright light, which lasted 3 seconds before everything went back to darkness. Confirming that all the assailants were cleansed, Valerie cursed something about making the one behind this pay, then readied her weapon again, ready for the last wave. No other waves came. 1 second later, the lights in the hall flickered back on to reveal the aftermath. The skeletons were gone, and what was left was a destroyed hall and toppled tables with the corpses of many people scattered around. Guards were standing ready with long spears, looking around as if searching for the enemy. Slowly, the still conscious guests who had very pale green faces began to climb from under the tables, cough a bit, then look around. Is it over? Someone asked. Was this a part of the ceremony? Kai-a-a-a-wa-wea. Is that man dead? What was that? Let's get out of here. Damn it. It was total chaos with people still in shock, all wanting nothing but to leave this place. Stop! Someone yelled. It was Harvey who seemed to have survived and, at some moment, climbed onto the stage. I ask for your cooperation. What are you? Before anyone could say anything, they watched Harvey take a strange bell and ring it. A moment later, all of the non-players in the hall fell to the ground. He tried to activate this thing before, but it didn't work. I am very sorry to bother you, but ask my player friends to cooperate in the coming investigation. Watching all of this happen, Harvey turned to the few guests who didn't fall asleep and said solemnly, those ones were all players. After all of this is finished, I will make sure to compensate you for any losses. The player guests, about 30 people, looked at each other, then slowly returned to their seats. Nodding as he watched this, Harvey slowly looked around to confirm who survived, finally noticing Victor, who was climbing from under the table with his hair unkempt and his shirt unbuttoned. His girls climbed after him one after the other. Wait, what were they doing under the table as people fought for their lives? Elise, was she doing it there too? Before he could wonder about that, boom, the gate was kicked open. Stop this wedding, Gary, who finally arrived, yelled as he walked in, then paused as he watched the chaos in the hall. What happened here? He asked as a few guards who were just outside the door peered in with shocked faces. How the hell did all of this happen without them noticing a thing? Apprehend him, Harvey ordered. Wait, why? I am the real one, Gary began to explain, but no one cared as they handcuffed him. We will see about that, Harvey said as he began to look around and finally noticed Ramon's nearly burnt-down corpse to the side of the stage, on top of 2 other dead guys. Damn it, this guy's goal was to learn about the imposter's real name using the system wedding mechanism. Make a count for everyone, he ordered. Yes? The men quickly said, dragging the shocked Gary to a table to the side. Wait, where is Charlotte? Someone suddenly asked. It was William who, after ordering the guards on what to do, turned around and finally noticed that his youngest daughter had gone missing at some point. Chapter 528. Disciples. Look, I hope you don't mind my manners, but we have to finish this quickly, as I have to go back quickly before that old man begins to suspect anything. The man in the shadow said to Jim, who had just woken up and found himself in a dark space. Toilet breaks can only be that long. What is this? Who are you? What toilet breaks? Never mind that. Let's talk about my leverage. First of all, I know your real identity, and have kept it a secret. Jim Rocker, he said, making the space around them ripple once. What? I don't know who that. Jim began to speak, then paused as a stream of information appeared in his mind. He quickly looked around, realizing that he was suspended in midair in absolute darkness. Karmic arbitration? What kind of absurd skill was this? Secondly, I have just saved your life from Harvey's trap, allowed you to exit the hall safely, and even removed the curse that he secretly placed on you, he said. The space rippled again. Although it might not have killed someone with your talents, it would have been problematic. What curse? A little something that he planned to detonate in case you managed to run away. You don't need to care about it, the shadow said. Thirdly, your maid girl Lumia is in my hand, and I have been keeping her safe for you. The space rippled a third time. And of course I kept all the things she told me about you a secret. What? Lumia, you were the bastard who kidnapped her. As I said, I have been keeping her safe, fearing that you might implicate her in your stupid plan. I always planned to return her to you. Bastard. I also didn't make a fuss after you cursed at me without reason. The space rippled again. Ah, no. No, wait. Jim quickly caught his words as he remembered what was going on. You kidnapped my maid. The space rippled around him. This argument was accepted. I saved her from a very grim fate, the shadow said. The space rippled. What fate? Something about sacrificing herself to help you escape Charlotte's charm. Never mind that, now that I told you about that, it should count. The space rippled. What? Next? I will find a way to provide you with a tonic for your sister. It will make her forget what she went through in the last few months. I am the good guy here. As if I would ever take anything from a shady guy, he said, still, in his heart. He really wondered if such a medicine existed. After his sister was sent to that place, although she was saved, she was no longer the cheerful child she once was. As for what happened there, no one talked about it, but he had the general idea. Finally, I have indirect control of 100% of your company. I will give 50% of it back to you, the shadow said, letting the space ripple one last time before delivering his last line. And in exchange for all of that, I want you to, firstly, drink some wine that I prepared. I refuse, Jim said, then felt a strange rejection power, shooting from his mouth right into the shadow's chest. The shadow frowned as he suffered some backlash. He should have expected as much. He can fool this guy, but he can't fool this arbitration. Then I demand 3 things. That you become my disciple, forget all about this exchange, and finally agree to the fair deal that you will be made to sign in exchange for 50% of your company. What decibel? What kind of shady shit are you planning? I refuse, he said again. But this time nothing happened as he felt the other party's words slowly turn into golden shackles that began to wrap him up. Sadly, it seems like you don't have that luxury this time. The shadow smirked as the world turned black. Charlotte, you have been a bad girl, the shadow said to the blonde girl, who looked around in panic, not realizing what was going on. Where is this? She said, then paused as knowledge about this space began to fill her head. Who the fuck are you? I am your new master, the shadow replied. I saved your life from myself. I really planned to kill you, but I thought if I tried this, it might work. What? I also know some things about you that, if I were to reveal, you would be thankful if your grandfather didn't feed you to his dogs. And I kept all those a secret, the shadow said directly. Unlike with Jim before this one, he didn't have to tread carefully. You. So in return for all of that, from now on you will be my slut. And although you will forget everything that had transpired in this arbitration, you will never be able to refuse any of my direct commands. Like hell I would. Charlotte, who finally realized what was going on, snapped, but it was too late as the world grew dark again. When Jim woke up, he found himself in a metallic cage in the middle of a forest. He was a little disoriented as he tried hard to recall how he got here. He couldn't. The last he remembered was escaping that cursed wedding, and then the world turned black. Still, there is this nagging feeling in his heart that something happened after that, but he had absolutely no memory of it. So you are awake at last, someone called, making him turn and finally notice that in another nearby cage a familiar girl was sitting. Charlotte? He asked. Who else? She spat angrily. Where are we? What's going on here? He quickly asked as he stood up and began trying to bend the bars. Could it be that your grandfather discovered our plot? So you are Jim. Charlotte sighed in relief, saying that confirming that the guy in front of her was not her stupid brother, but Jim, who was still disguised due to the pill's effect. My guess is as good as yours. I thought you would know something, she sighed. Could it really be her grandfather who found out about her plot to dispose of Gary? If it were so, her end would not be good. What Harvey hated most was family betrayal. No idea. I was just trying to escape the wedding at one moment, then found myself here, he said as he continued to inspect his surroundings. The same here. Charlotte clicked her tongue. Who is she? Jim suddenly asked as he noticed a collapsed girl in another cage that was a little far away from this one. She was cute with short bob hair that had some streak of azure. She was at the wedding too, from the Von Zwei family or something. No idea why she is here too. Charlotte, who knew who most of the guests were, said just as that girl began to sit up. Diana, like Jim, seemed disoriented as she began to look around, not knowing where she was. This is... She squinted her eyes, noticing Charlotte and Jim. Our guess is as good as yours. We were kidnapped from the wedding, Jim quickly said. Oh. Diana frowned, then began to check her belongings. Don't bother, Charlotte said. All our stuff was taken from us. We can't even use any skills as the system is not working. Thankfully, they kept our clothes, she explained with annoyance. What? Diana exclaimed as she began to try to enter the system. Jim did the same, but they quickly discovered that they couldn't. Before she could say anything, she was interrupted by a cloud of smoke that made all three prisoners pause and watch as it slowly took the shape of three people. An old man accompanied by two girls cosplaying as elves in bikini armor. Good morning, my children. The old man smirked as he slowly walked toward the center of the three cages that formed a triangle, and began to look at each one of them individually. First at Jim on the left, then at Charlotte in the middle, and lastly at Diana. Who are you? Charlotte demanded arrogantly. How dare you lock us? Pam. All of a sudden, a whip descended on her, passing through the cage bar to hit her body. Eh! She screamed in pain as the elf girl pulled the whip back and glared at her. Silence. How dare you speak without master's permission? Bitch! The elf hissed. No education and no manners. Pooey! She spat at her. Sini, it is okay. It's not her fault, but her parents, mistaking an animal for a human and raising it as their daughter. The old master said in a low voice as he gestured to the elf to step away. The author's narrative has been misappropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. Charlotte, who wiped Sini's spit off her face with disgust, wanted to curse again, but the stinging pain from that whip was so strong that she didn't dare to speak. Let me first introduce myself, the old man said. My name is. You don't need to know that yet. Just call me the old master as many others do, and from now on, the three of you will become my disciples, he said. Disciples? Jim asked. Yes. Disciples, outer disciples to be exact, the lowest kind. No better than slaves, really? But if you manage to complete my missions and impress me, I will grant you all kinds of rewards, he said. You can also tempt me to bed and try to get a promotion, but that would depend on your performance. And what makes you think that we will agree to that? Jim asked with disgust. Who said I need you to agree? The old master asked, flicking his finger to make a part of his cloak turn into wisps of smoke that immediately shot toward each one of them and drilled into their nostrils. Ah! What was that? Charlotte screamed like a bitch. I just modified your systems. The old master, flicking his bony finger. I just unlocked it for you. Why don't you check it? All three quickly looked in shock as their previously inaccessible system menu appeared in their vision with a brand new field and a notification. Master. The old master. Your system had been put under the old master's mentorship. The old master has access to your status, skills, and powers at all times. The old master can disable your system interface at any time. The old master can administer punishments. What madness is this? Charlotte gasped. She had never heard of anything like this. Who do you think you are? Pam. Stop making useless comments. Sini swung the wipe at her again. Master, this one is not suitable for our sect. Can't we just use her to feed the new pets? No, Crocky is a vegetarian, and I have uses for her. The old master said dismissively as he flicked his finger again, making the system screen in front of the three disappear again. You understand your situation now? How? Charlotte asked. The old master ignored her. Why us? Jim asked with a self-deprecating smile. It was clear to him that this guy's power was beyond anything he understood, even beyond those dark chamber guys he had cooperated with before. Oh, because the three of you were very naughty kids. One is cooperating with bad people to steal another's wife, one helping strangers to kill her own flesh and blood brother, and the last harming all those innocent people in the wedding, just to assassinate that one person. He sneered. One thing I liked most in my long life is disciplining naughty kids. What? Charlotte turned to look at Diana with shock. So this one was the one behind the attack that ruined her plan. Diana ignored Charlotte and just glared at the old man. So I think refusing your discipline is not an option, Jim sighed. You can refuse one type of discipline, but there are always others waiting. Then, are there perks in becoming your disciples? Jim asked after a brief silence. He was a very adaptable guy and always believed that whatever situation he was in, he should always strive to get the most profit. This was the best way to survive. Oh, we have a smart guy here, master. The other elf girl said as she clung to the master. No, I think he is just shameless. Sini spat. It doesn't matter. The old master chuckled as he secretly grabbed the elf girls, but not really. Everyone saw his bony hand move behind as the bikini armor the girl wore hid nothing. Well, since you are my disciples, you naturally get some perks. Here you go, he said, throwing a skill book at each one. This is a telepathic speech skill, an E-rank skill that I thought you guys would need in your first mission. Once you complete it, I will give you better rewards well-suited for each one of you. What? Charlotte frowned as she grabbed the skill book. It was real. This thing was expensive even in her family. What is the mission? Jim asked. Getting out of this place should be his priority. It is very simple, the old master replied. The two of you will head south to the Dark Continent and investigate the cult of the Nutcracker that is being spread among the indigenous people there. I need you to gather as much info about those as possible. You have 6 months to complete this, and once done, someone will contact you regarding it. The Nutcracker? Jim asked as he remembered someone screaming that name in the wedding when the chaos began. It is a supreme demon who snuck into our world with some unknown agenda. He has surpassed a lot of cultist followers all over the world, enticing them with promises of great power and a better world. The old man said with a deep frown. I don't expect you to come face to face with him anytime soon. Your mission is just regular reconnaissance to get you to learn to work together. Old master. What about me? Diana asked. Oh. Due to your family situation, I will arrange something for you later. The most important thing is to never release the info you have about me. Not to your family, not to anyone, the old master said, turning toward Jim and Charlotte. The same goes for you. Don't tell those Dark Chamber guys anything. If you do, I promise you that really bad things will happen. The three looked at him, then at each other. Bad things? Believe me, you don't want to know. Sini sneered. They frowned. Did they have a choice in this entire matter? You have no choice in the matter, the other elf said as if she read their minds. Then what now? Charlotte asked. Now you leave. I will arrange for you to appear in safe places so no one would suspect anything. You can tell them that you followed the fake Gary when he escaped. The old master said. Then until we meet. Wait, I can't leave right away. There is a lot of stuff I have to take care of. Jim quickly as the old man raised his hand. Oh right. The old master nodded and waved his hand, making a strange bottle appear in front of Jim, as if it had always been there. This tonic is for your sister. It will make her forget what happened last month or so, he said. How? Jim gasped. I know many things, the old master interrupted. You have 1 week to arrange your family. As for that girl, Lumia, I already saved her. She should be waiting for you in your hideout by now, he said. If you complete my mission, I will give you half of your company back. Ah! Jim was surprised. It was as if the old master read his mind. Really? He asked. I never lie. What about me? What will I get? Charlotte, who finally realized that there might be some big benefits for her current situation, asked. Unlike Jim here, whom, although I criticize, I sympathize with, you are a total bitch. The old master spat. Still, if you complete the mission successfully, I will award you with a skill that will make your grandfather look favorably upon you. Now off you go, he spat. Wait. One last question. You just told us we now belong to a sect. What's its name? Jim asked. The Ancient Sect, the old man said, flicking his finger. A moment later, the world turned black, and both Jim and Charlotte fell unconscious. Just as they did, the cages dispersed, and the environment around them changed to that of a large hall. You did well. The old master turned to Diana, who was still standing there, and said, I did as I was told, master. Diana replied. An hour before those two guys woke up, the old master confronted her, telling her how a few months ago, he was passing by the Von Zwei compound when he met her near that lake and decided to take her as his disciple. But since he was in a hurry, he was planning to explain things to her later. After that, he said that he got involved in some across-worlds matter and totally forgot about her. To tell the truth, she felt a bit reluctant about this entire matter with him. But in the end, she knew that he was the reason why she managed to become a player. After her success, the lake had become very crowded with money attempting to replicate her success, but no one managed to awaken after that. Anyway, being a servant to this old master or those Von Zweis was the same for her. At least, this old man clearly treated her well, granting her 5 skills as soon as they met and even breaking the curse that was caused by her skill. To tell the truth, I didn't expect the Von Zwei to give you their last name, nor for them to help you enhance your bloodline, he said with a sigh. Master, it is the other way around. They first tried to enhance my bloodline. Most of their servants are a part of the clan, but since the maggot blood potion needed for the enhancement is rare, they only give it to the ones who become players. When I succeeded, they gave me their last name, she explained. She was still a servant, just one with a bit higher status. Yeah. Still, this would make taking you off your clan troublesome. For now, I will use the power of the contract to your memory of our meeting since those guys will probably try to read your memories about why the assassination failed. He said, revealing a contract that he made her sign earlier. In it, she was giving her all of her memories of him and this place in exchange for a few coins. The moment he activates the contract, she would lose those memories until it was destroyed. I will send someone to contact you later once the heat is off you. I understand, she said, glancing at the elf girls who were no longer acting all bossy but instead clinging to the old master like some dogs in heat. Half-elves that he fished from some other world, according to him. Now I will make you pass out. When you wake up you will have forgotten everything and you will be haunted by one of my slaves for a while to give your family something to investigate. It will take a while, but... The master paused as a cloud of black smoke suddenly formed next to him and a red-headed guy appeared out of nowhere. Master, the mission is complete, the young man said. As you expected, there was a trace of the Von Tree family there thankfully. I arrived in time, but there was a divergence. What? That Von Tree oracle seemed to have married that Von Krone? Will this cause a problem for us? Oh, damn it, I was planning to betroth her to Victor, but it doesn't matter, the old master said with a slight frown. Hopefully you didn't say anything unnecessary there. Of course not. I always hold my tongue. Like when Victor asked about the master's secret stash and I... Ah, right. Who is this one, by the way? The red-headed guy asked, looking at Diana and changing the subject at the same time. She is your younger disciple sister. Diana, this is Zinc Zed, my eldest disciple. The old master said. Oh, nice to meet you, Zinc said toward her. Nice to meet you too, Diana said politely as she bowed slightly. Enough with pleasantries, we are out of time. Let's go. The old master flicked his finger again, and Diana fell unconscious. Zinc that never existed to begin with naturally vanished. Young master, that was amazing, Sini said right after as she jumped into Victor's hand as he pulled the cloak off his head to reveal his handsome face. This is just standard procedure. He chuckled as he looked at his 3 victims. First of all, Diana. For this girl, he planned to return her to be his mole in the Von Zwei family for now. It was clear that they didn't trust her for now, but he was sure that, due to her strange ghost avatar class, she would slowly rise up in ranks. The second was Jim. This guy was a scion, so Victor couldn't really harm him, but that didn't mean he couldn't scam him. For now, he would use him as an agent. The same could be said about Charlotte, whom Victor, before making her go through the arbitration, interrogated about her relationship with the Dark Chamber using the spirit making. The idiot knew nothing. They just promised to make her the Von Gledstadt Matriarch, and her greedy nature took care of the rest. She was the one behind the idea of scamming Jim to act as Gary in order to control the power from behind the scenes, as women couldn't directly lead in her family. Thankfully, she was not the one who directly contacted him, so her secret was safe for now. Well, unless Victor decided to reveal it. First, he wanted to kill her, but after thinking for a bit, Victor decided to use her until she was worn out like an old shoe while promising her wealth that would never enter her hands. Anyways, with her under his control, he might be able to figure out some of the Dark Chamber's secrets for the foreseeable future. So what now? Sini asked as her hand began to move around Victor's body greedily. Now, I have a wedding to catch, and you 2 girls will help me get dressed, he said. Yup, the wedding was not pulled off, it was just delayed for a few hours. Hence Victor having to move quickly. How much time do we have? Yos, the other elf girl, asked. About 45 to 50 minutes, he said. That would be enough for the 2 of you, right? The girls quickly answered by pushing him down to the ground. Then they paused. What? He asked with a chuckle. Young master, can we do it with that zinc? Sini asked. Just to change things a bit? We already tried the old master. You girls. Victor raised one eyebrow. He was really pampering those girls a lot. They even had the gall to request him to cuck himself. Well, it was not a bad idea. A moment later, the girls got to enjoy the care of the very talkative Zinc Zed. Hello everyone, this is Shadow. Due to copyright restrictions on YouTube, I can't publish many of the audiobooks you love. That's why I've created a special paid service where you can enjoy over 300 high-quality audiobooks from platforms like Webnovel, Pocket FM, Audible, Wuxia, and more. Each novel comes as a one-time purchase, no subscriptions, no hidden fees. After payment, you'll receive full access via Telegram, along with all future updates for that novel. You'll find a wide selection of your favorite genres and titles, always in premium audio quality. Check the full list of available novels in the description. DM me now to get your favorite stories in audiobook form and start listening today.